going over web development lesson 7 of Codivate. We're going to be going over navigation menu and styling that along with some other parts of our web page, and it'll be a lot of fun. So a lot of today's time is going to be allocated towards making our website rather than the presentation itself. And for that reason, I think we provided you with a sample index.html file, and hopefully you guys answered all the prompts within the file. As you can see, we've created a sample website over here that has your favorite hobbies. Pretty much filled that out. We've included images, so go ahead and do that. If you haven't done so, come back to this video and continue along. So how this video is going to go is that I'm just going to show you the HTML and CSS. I'm going to explain each component with you, and then later on, if you're confused, as we're obviously going to share the website with you, the sample one, and if you're confused on how something works, or you just want to learn more about what CSS properties there are, you can definitely come back to this video and it'll have most explanations here. Another thing that you can do is that in VS Code, if you click here and if you search up live server, and if you install this one here, obviously I've already installed that. Something cool that you can do is that if you go to your website, right? If you right click and then you say open with live server, it automatically appears, the website automatically appears for you here. And let's say if you made some changes, so if you, instead of your name, you wrote, or I wrote my name here, it automatically appears here. So I didn't have to refresh my page, I just had to save my code and it automatically appears here. So basically in our web page, so I have this sample web page here. So what I've done is that, well, first what we have to do is that we have to remove any margin, padding, and we have to declare box sizing border box, because if by declaring box sizing border box to this property, it pretty much changes everything, all the properties, or it allows the padding and the width of a container, so it allows the padding to not change the width of a certain element. That's what that property does, and adding it to the body kind of allows it, the whole web page, it applies to the whole web page. Margin 0 and padding 0, so if we didn't include that, we would have a little bit of margin here, so we wouldn't want that, obviously, and as you can see, it's pretty sleek. And that's basically our basic styling for our code. And obviously font family, you can include whatever fonts you like. We have a bunch of backup fonts, just in case the first font doesn't work. Next, let's go to the Nav Link. So the Nav Links pretty much is everything that is here. So everything in this section of our page. This is it, how it looks like full screen, but I'm just going to minimize it just to so we can see both at the same time. So over here we have display flex, so we're using the same flexbox property, and that kind of allows everything to be in like one line, and it allows us to do a lot of things in how we want it to be formatted. We give it some padding, as you can see here. Justify content center, align item center, pretty much centers the properties. So the dot logo, so the logo is over here. We don't really have like an image logo, so we just decided to put our name. So we gave it a property of flex1, and we also gave the UL, the list here, a property of flex1. And as you can see, kind of half of the web page is taken up by the logo, and half of it is kind of taken up by the nav link. So it allows it to be kind of justified towards the right, if you can think about it like that, or it's shifted towards the right rather than towards the center. And that's how you can do that. If you assign each property to flex1, it kind of allows it to split across the center. And over here we put justify content space between to allow some space in between each li element, and align item center allows it to be centered vertically. Over here, display inline block, what that does is it allows it to be displayed as like next to each other. Let's say what if we change this to block, what would happen? Well, it doesn't obviously show here, but we would have to make it in line blocks since they would be on the same line. Over here, we're styling the actual text itself. So text decoration none, it removes that like bluish color. So if we remove this, then we would have like an underline and it wouldn't look nice. We add the color, font size, padding. Padding is important because it gives it that extra space when you hover over it. We have a hover effect here, which changes the background color and the color of the text. And that's applied when we say all and then 0.3 seconds. We're obviously going to learn more about transitions later on, towards the end of our course, but they are there if you're interested in doing so. So this is the hover effect that you can see, and we have a border radius of 30 pixels, and obviously you can't really see it without hovering over it, but if you hover over it, because of the change in background color, you can kind of see the border radius. Next, we have our header section, and in our header section, we have display flex. So the header section is pretty much this whole page. We assign it a height of 80 VH, so that's kind of like some part of our viewport. We put justify content center and align item center. That pretty much centers like whatever element, so like the title here is exactly in the middle. So it's going to be align item center, would make it aligned vertically. Justify content center makes it aligned horizontally. So dot title refers to our actual title here. We put text align center because it's in the center of the div. And we, for the header is, so that's pretty much all the styling for this. If we scroll down here, it looks a little bit different when I make it full screen. But over here, right, our header, we style that by giving it some margin on the bottom, so a little bit of margin over here of 1 rem. We put text align center to make it centered. It's obviously not left or right. Dot page, so our page is kind of like one of these sections. So that's like our one page. We put display flex, and we put align item center. We've gone over what that is. Aligns it vertically. Padding 10 pixels. That puts 10 pixels of padding for each on each side. Justify content center, places it in the center. So dot call 6 kind of splits the page in half, and if you give it a property of flex 1, it's going to split it in half. So this is going to take half of the web page, or half of the page, and your text is going to take another half, so that's what flex 1 does. It's also going to have a padding of 10 pixels, so each individual div is going to have a padding of 10 pixels. So over here, this has a padding of 10 pixels, and this has a padding of 10 pixels. So the image obviously is the image, or it's the container of the image. So we give it display flex and justify content center, so it's going to be in the center of this div. The description, so that the description is this part. Obviously we haven't really added responsiveness to this web page so far because that's for the next video. But for the description, we gave it a width of 75% and text align of center. So it's centered, and we made it a width of 75% just so that it's a little bit smaller. And the text doesn't really go off to the side too much. For the H1 element, we give it a font size, a font weight, which is like the boldness, and we give it margin bottom of 4 rem, so that margin between these two, the paragraph and the header. For the P tag, we give it a line height to create that like separation if we didn't have this, right? So if we didn't have this, it would just be a bunched up. And line height is actually really important because it's really easy on the viewer's eye. As you can see, it's a lot easier to read like that if it's all, rather than when it's all scrunched up. We also give it a lighter background color. And yeah, we pretty much apply these properties to each one of our divs. So for the drawing, for the reading, for the programming, for each section, we pretty much apply these same classes. So yeah, we create each page And obviously for our second one here, we put the text on the left. So we put description first and then the image second. So that's pretty much it for our hobby section. That's what this lesson was for. It was for the styling of our navigation bar, and it was also for the styling of our hobby section. Alright, so that's pretty much it for today's lesson. If you guys have any questions, make sure to email us at team@codivate.org or ask in the Discord server. We're always available. Ask our tutors, ask any officers, and yeah, be sure to explore web development. It's super fun, especially if you get really good at CSS. Alright, bye. See you in the next video.